Crash is still under investigation, but officials do not believe it was hostile or friendly fire. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, the Pentagon says Iran's Navy and Air Force have been decimated in U.S. and Israeli strikes. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy has the latest from Washington.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says Americans needn't worry about Iranian strikes in the Strait of Hormuz, which have driven up the price of oil.
Something we're dealing with.
But Hegseth offered no specifics about current or future U.S. efforts to secure safe passage through the strait. The former Fox News host, who's moved to curtail reporters' access to the Pentagon, bristled at press coverage of the war. In the midst of his briefing, Hegseth invoked the impending sale of CNN's parent company.
The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Utah Democrats and the regional NAACP are reacting to the news of the Department of Homeland Security's Salt Lake City warehouse purchase. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Utah's Senate and House Democrats are calling this a bleak day for the state, saying if the warehouse is used for an ICE detention facility, enforcement operations will tear through Utah communities, and say they oppose ICE infrastructure anywhere in the state. Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson says people need to come together to put a stop to a potential ICE facility, and Utah congressional candidate Eva Lopez Chavez is calling for an investigation into the sale and says this will promote violence and not safety.
We have reached out to Utah Speaker of the House Mike Schultz, and we're told they don't know anything about it, so they cannot comment. We also reached out to Governor Spencer Cox for comment and have not yet heard back. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 46 points this morning. We're at 46,717. Coming up, sunny and nice temperatures today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Imagine all that could happen in 5 years. Jobs change, kids grow, but what if you had reliable, intelligent Wi-Fi and the price didn't change for 5 years? Well, thanks to the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee, you don't have to worry about that part of your future. You're guaranteed 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to your devices that need the most, that finds and fixes any issues before you notice. It's like super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected. You get incredible gaming speeds on multiple devices and no one battling for bandwidth. For the next 5 years, all your devices in perfect harmony, and you get the best equipment, no annual contract, no fees, no strings. So even though the kids will grow up and you still won't understand 6-7, your internet will stay sharp, reliable, and the price stays put. Plus, get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. All with the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Select plans only.
Every day here in Utah, people turn to KSL News Radio for one simple reason: trust. Trust for our reporters, hosts, our coverage, and trust in the businesses heard right here. I've met so many of our listeners over the years, and they'll tell you KSL is part of their daily routine, in the car, at work, at home. And when they hear your business here, it carries the weight of that trust. It isn't just another ad. It's a recommendation coming from a reliable source. When you advertise on KSL News Radio, you reach a loyal, highly engaged audience who listens intentionally. They show up for breaking news, accurate information, and meaningful conversations. And because of that connection, they respond. And when you pair our on-air credibility with digital tools like display advertising, social media, streaming audio, search, geo-targeting, and retargeting, you get a full funnel strategy that works and reaches the right people at the right time. Get marketing that truly moves the needle. Partner with the voice Utah trusts. KSL. Learn more at kslnewsradio.com/advertise.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolaids spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
How can you free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business. Smart business buying tools enable buyers to find and purchase items fast so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Traffic and weather together are brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. And here's Cameron Elliott.
It's a real parking lot on northbound I-215's West Belt between 3100 South and California Avenue, as it looks like UHP has just come through with a slowdown. We'll have more details on that as we get them, but if you're looking to get around that traffic, you might want to take the 3500 South exit. There's also a crash in Summit County on eastbound I-80 sitting on the shoulder just past Kimball Junction, causing a little bit of congestion. Two Brothers Mattress. Come in and feel the Tempur-Pedic difference in all of our 5 locally owned stores. Visit twobrothersmattress.com. Cameron Elliott in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be partly cloudy with highs in the 70s, but tomorrow we'll get clouds and some rain in the late afternoon continuing into the evening. That cold front dropping temperatures to the 40s on Sunday. Right now it's 45 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Inside Sources. I'm your host, Greg Skordas, and I'm alongside Jim Bennett, who I have not worked with before, but it's nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you as well, sir.
In 2004, I ran for Attorney General, and alongside me as a Democrat who ran against your father was Paul Van Dam. And I remember that election year very well because your father, Senator Bob Bennett, and Paul Van Dam were just the picture of they got along so well. It was a really non-contentious. I mean, I just thought, well, they had it made. My opponent and I didn't get along quite so well, but I just had the greatest respect for him. So anyway, it's a very, very pleasurable to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Dad had a reputation for getting to know his opponents and being friends with them.
Yeah.
I'm very good friends now with Scott Leckman, who ran against my father in 98.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice to see that people that are on different sides of the aisle can still be friends and can get along.
And you had your own experience running his campaign, I think, at least once.
I ran, well, in the year you ran in 2004,
Yeah.
I was his communications guy. I did all those goofy billboards.
Right.
Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Bold, brilliant, beanpole, honest, humble, hairless. We would put up these teasers.
That's right.
And then we revealed that it was Bennett for Senate.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, anyway, there's some news going on right now, and this is something that I didn't expect, but we're being told, Jim, that Department of Homeland Security, maybe the same thing, has purchased a building here in Salt Lake County near the airport. It is a 833,000 square foot warehouse near the Salt Lake Airport, and you kind of have to wonder what they would be purchasing something that size for.
Well, what do you need that much space for? And the only real reasonable answer is a detention facility.
Right. So let me just tell you from my own experience as an attorney, we do not have in the state of Utah a federal detention facility. We don't have a federal jail. We don't have a federal prison. We're one of the few states that doesn't. So when we have federal prisoners, federal inmates, even people who are just accused of federal crimes, we normally have to contract with local county jails. Usually you see them in Davis and Weber County. A lot of federal inmates are there, some out in Tooele, very few in Salt Lake. But then when they're sent to prison, ultimately they go to another location. That's been a problem here with our immigration courts because without having a holding facility, you'll have a person who's accused of being here illegally. They're going through some deportation hearings or whatnot, but you can't hold them because there's no place to bring them, and it's very expensive to bring them back and forth from another state every time they have a hearing. So I think, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here for Department of Homeland Security, that they're looking for some place to house their federal inmates while they're going through these deportation processes. But who knows?
Well, do you think that they're looking at Utah to do that because they think that Utah isn't going to push back as much as some other places might?
That's a great question. That's probably true. I can't imagine that Utah has as many people that they want a house that they would need at. It's nearly 1 million square foot warehouse. Anyway, we do have with us on the line Tim Vandenack from KSL.com. Tim, thanks for joining us this morning.
Yep. Good morning. Yep.
Didn't I see you in court yesterday?
Yep. So
that's a different. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and tell us what we do know about this. I know there's not a lot of information right now, Tim, but what do we know about this facility and the purchase and when it occurred and sort of anything behind it?
Yeah, well, we have the warranty deed that outlines the sale terms, and just that the owner, a company with kind of a long name, I think just kind of a placeholder name, they sold it to ICE and for $145.44 million. We know the address, but beyond that, yeah, I have reached out to ICE to ask them. They're not always responsive, or sometimes it takes them a little bit of time. So don't know what they have to say about it. But the speculation has been a detention facility, and you've had a number of officials already speak out, saying they worry that this will be a detention facility and they don't want it. At least the ones who have been speaking out, including Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson, one of the Salt Lake City Council members, Eva Lopez Chavez, and the Democratic Party have all spoke out against it. So far, nothing from the other side.
Well, are there enough undocumented immigrants in Utah to justify a facility of that size?
Yeah, that I wouldn't think so.
Right.
So I presume it would become kind of a facility for to house regional people from the region. I mean, currently they go, I think Colorado has a big facility in Arizona, so they have to ship them off or some of the local jails on kind of an ad hoc basis and only for a couple of days. So, yeah, it seems to be part of the larger plan, which we've heard bits and pieces of the Trump administration, to open up more and more of these detention facilities around the country, just in general, to deal with the bigger crackdown, immigrant crackdown that the federal administration is pushing. This is just part of that, it seems.
Tim, I'm trying to think. 3rd South and 60th West, 24.9 acre parcel. What has been there in the past, or is it a new building, or do you know? I'm trying to think what would have been there.
It's you look on the Google map, I guess. It's a warehouse area. You got a lot of big warehouse-looking structures around it. I mean, it's a little bit to the west. It's a little bit more open, but it's kind of jam-packed with distribution centers, manufacturing companies, it looks like, and it's not far from the other site. There was another site, if you remember, last January. There was rumors about that site, although this current proposal seems more concrete in that you have paperwork saying Department of Homeland Security has bought it. But, yeah, pretty industrial, also not far from the big prison is at the Utah Correctional Facility out there.
That's right.
So, yeah, and I guess, yeah, to me it seems just kind of packed in there. I mean, looking at the jail campus, that is so much larger, and that has like 3,600 beds, I think. So I don't know how they would fit a bunch of prisoners in there, but
looking at all the Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson has come out against this. You've got a number of other particularly Democratic office holders or candidates coming out against this. What do they have any ability to be able to stop this or even slow this down? Is there any kind of leverage that anybody who is opposed to this might be able to exercise?
Yeah, no, that's one of the questions I have, and I hope to make some calls later on. But I know when this other proposal emerged, there was talk about, well, you know, what I gathered was possibly making it hard to get the water, or you don't have the water, or saying, you know, just making sure you have to meet this, and this kind of guideline to make sure the building has all the services. So I kind of gathered that could be one area where they try to, I guess, be very, just watchful, demanding.
Yeah, we're going to learn a lot more about that. That was KSL.com's Tim Vandenek joining us this morning. We may have an answer to your question, Jim, when we come back after the break. Senate Minority Leader Luz Escamilla joins us with her response and some insights on this purchase. Stay with us.
Only one type of burger. For every pallet. Fries are extra. Large in size. We've got the shakes. Going over the brim.
Hey, this is Chris from JCW's. Put a positive, delicious spin on your day at any one of our 5 locations. In Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, or Harriman. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
A family office is a team built to handle the 3 biggest financial responsibilities a family faces: wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning. Most firms only manage your investments and refer the rest out, hoping everyone stays aligned. At Trajan, we built something different. Your wealth, tax planning, and estate planning are handled together inside one firm under one roof. There's no guessing whether your CPA, advisor, and estate attorney are truly in sync, because our team works together every day on your behalf. When your financial life becomes more complex, your advice should become more coordinated, not more fragmented. One plan, one trusted team. Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. Like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic.
Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life.
I wanted you to know from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
and expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
We're back on Inside Sources, following up on our earlier story regarding the sale of a large warehouse in Salt Lake City on 3rd West, about 60th South, having a lot of people concerned because it was purchased by Department of Homeland Security, maybe trying to set up an immigration center there. It's an 833,000 square foot warehouse near the Salt Lake City Airport on, I think, 24.9 acres. It's a big site. Department of Homeland Security purchased it for $145 million plus, but we don't know much about what it is and what it's going to be. Although, Jim, I would say that they're not going to be, selling shoes out of it. I mean,
right.
If the Department of Homeland Security is buying it, they have a reason to have that.
Right, and when you're looking at that much square footage, obviously this is something that's going to be used to detain people.
Yeah, you would think that. You would think so. And it's not that easy to convert a warehouse into space for inmates. I mean, you've got to have, you've got to have facilities. You've got to have sanitation. You've got to have beds. I mean, it's not just like some big building where you're storing a lot of product. You're having people there. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be the retrofit's got to be incredibly expensive if they're really thinking of housing inmates and prisoners there.
Well, and given the amount of pushback you're seeing against ICE throughout the nation, this seems like an ill-timed sort of thing. I mean, I don't know that the Trump administration has the political capital to be able to do something like this.
Right, maybe not in Utah. Well, we do have with us Senate Minority Leader Luz Escamilla. Luz, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Greg and Jim. Nice to be here with you guys.
What do we know about this, Senator?
Well, I mean, that's part of the problem. I don't think that people in Utah know much, except maybe the people that made millions of dollars in this transaction. All we know is that it's been purchased, the transaction is done, and Homeland Security is purchasing what they're referring to for mega centers. So these mega detention centers are the conversation and what you can see from their official statements is centers where they can house up to 7,500 people. So as you were discussing right now, whether this is, zoned for that type of housing, is not. Those places are not zoned for that. There's no public utilities infrastructure to manage that type of need for support. And if you think about how close it will be from the Utah State Prison, which, again, right now housing 3,500, which is not even close to what they want to house in there, it's the level of infrastructure and investment is gigantic to do something like that. So I'm not sure if there's a lot of concerns. I mean, just on the operation itself and how it came about, not consulting with city, local and state leaders, I think it's irresponsible. Really not following the federalism. There is certain ways of doing things, and this certainly is not the way. And it's sending. This is not, Utah does not work like that, and this does not belong in Utah for sure.
Well, so what tools do you have at your disposal to either slow or stop this?
A lot of it, I think, the municipality, in this case, Salt Lake City, will have to, what they have in place, and, it's truly their public utilities approach. The federal government does have a way of superseding certain things, and that purchasing transaction was not through the state or, local government or county. So the pressure of the public, I think it's, the irresponsible decisions are being made, and not only fiscally, but also we've seen what's happening in other detention centers that are operated through private companies. So the accountability and the transparency is even less realistic in situations like this. We are now obviously going to our congressional delegation and asking for information, for answers in this process. And we definitely don't want to see what's happening in Texas, where there's, people are dying inside these facilities, and there's a lot of inhumane ways of approaching worse that you will see in other, type of, imprisonment and encampments and all of this. So the alarms, and it's alarming. It's not, this does not, especially capital city. If you think about, you're flying into Salt Lake City, and this is what's going to be next to this place, and it's also in the heart of the most diverse area in the state of Utah. So the chilling effect is going to be real, and I hope we can all put hands on deck, like trying to figure out how this needs to stop, and they need to find another location.
Senator, do you know how much input state and local leaders had with this? For example, Salt Lake County Mayor seems very concerned about it. Salt Lake City council members are concerned. People who have their Senate and House districts near or in that area are concerned. Do you know if there was much conversation before this purchase with the local authorities?
So I'll say this. I can speak as the senator for that district. This is in my Senate district. There was no there was absolutely no communication, at least as a state senator. And my understanding is there was no communication at the local level or state level at all. So if this was a transaction made through like a private process of 145, taxpayers' money, that's a huge concern. And again, this is where we have to. We've been communicating with our congressional delegation. I mean, when the whole rumor started about a month ago on another site, close to that place, which at that point it stopped because the owners didn't proceed with the selling of the location. We sent immediately communication to our congressional delegation as the two minority caucuses in the legislature. I mean, we've been raising concerns that this is not the place for something like this. Utah is probably more sensitive in terms of those type of detention centers because we saw what happened with Topaz. So, I mean, there is so much into Utah, and as we prep to welcome the world, in very large events that will be taking place in Salt Lake City and in Utah, this is certainly not what we want. And our biggest concern is how are they making these decisions on inside this vacuum when there's so many pieces that will be impacting, and no one from Utah was, being part of those conversations.
Well, so far it sounds like the pushback is all coming from the Democratic side of the aisle. Are you seeing any sort of, as you talk to the congressional delegation, are you seeing any sort of sense that some Republicans might be upset by this too?
I think the biggest concern that I'm hearing people, also joining in terms of the concern is the process, right? Is this everybody being blindsided? And by the way, we all learned this yesterday. So, we're all kind of like picking up at the same time that the media is. And so it is, I'm sure everybody right now is making a lot of phone calls. I can tell you that there's been a lot of phone calls, and my voice is already losing my voice as we're trying to figure out what happened. I think it was not done correctly, and I know there's a lot of, especially my colleagues in the legislature, that value federalism, and that this is not, this is a part of why we're seeing problems with the current administration, and we need to balance that. And I know that regardless of how you feel about the issue itself, is the process that is also failing tremendously right now because people were not aware of this. I mean, that seems to be a trend with everyone that you talk to.
Thanks for joining us this morning. That was State Minority Leader Luz Escamilla. And Jim, I have to think this. If the deal was done, and according to the public records, it was signed, sealed, and delivered on Wednesday for $145.44 million, that ship has sailed. I mean, it's going. Something's moving forward. Local leaders can do what they want, but if the Department of Homeland Security's put that kind of investment in it, you would expect that they've got some plans to finish the project.
Well, and you would also expect that Utah's congressional delegation should probably have had some kind of heads up on this.
Right.
I mean, they don't seem to be saying anything about that, but I don't think that concern about this should be a partisan sort of divide.
Yeah, that was a good question you asked, right? And yeah, we'll know more about that. We have Utah immigration attorney Carlos Trujillo, who's going to join us at 10:20 to share his perspective on this. But when we come back after the break, the Utah State Bar is having its annual spring conference, and a Utah State Bar survey is revealing that 2 decades of threats and violence against Utah's legal professionals have really been more than what a lot of people expected. We'll learn more about that after the break.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour, Derek Kitchen has announced he is no longer going to run for Utah's 1st Congressional District. He released a statement this morning saying he is not filing for the Democratic primary, and he is grateful for everyone who encouraged him to step forward and try. He added he deeply cares about Utah's future and those who make the community strong. We are learning more about a worker's death at the Rio Tinto Kennecott Bingham Canyon mine. The Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office says a man was working on heavy equipment inside a maintenance shop when a large boom attached to the equipment fell, striking him. He has been identified as 37-year-old Brian Camelli. The incident remains under investigation. Search and rescue crews in southern Utah say they are able to get some new equipment just in time for the spring hiking season. Gunlock Falls is currently flowing, and visitors from far and wide are pouring in to visit.
It can get pretty rugged back there, and even a very small injury can be very complex to get somebody out.
Northwest Fire and Rescue District Chief Charlie Guthrie says they have been able to buy a new rescue UTV and a cell phone signal amplifier that can boost phone signals by 6 times. Guthrie says this can be essential to getting to a location quickly and coordinating response times. He says for anyone wanting to get outside this spring, be prepared and wear the right shoes. Our top national story this hour, President Trump is offering some thoughts after the attack at a Detroit area synagogue. More from ABC News Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
The president has called these attacks a disgrace, a shame, and very sad. The president has said these are, quote, sick and demented people. And in those brief remarks yesterday, he said he is sending his love to the Michigan Jewish community. He called this kind of thing a terrible thing and promised to get to the bottom of it. But he hasn't commented yet on any potential link between the suspect and the ongoing conflict in the Middle East.
The shooter has been identified as 41-year-old Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, a naturalized U.S. citizen from Lebanon. Your money at this moment, the Dow up just 3 points now. We're at 46,681. Coming up, sunshine today, highs in the 70s. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Let's retrofit and renovate old buildings before it's too late. 45 wire pipes and power lines to keep things flowing and get back online. EIGONE. Let's work together to get ready. We don't have to be scared. Visit earthquakes.utah.gov to prepare.
Brought to you by Envision Utah.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Will?
When I was 50, my whole life fell apart. I lost my job, I lost my wife, I lost the house, I lost pretty much everything except for my life. When the IRS came calling, I just didn't have it in me. I felt like Wile E. Coyote, just waiting for that IRS anvil to drop.
Then Will found Tax Relief Advocates.
I heard their advertisement on the radio, I wrote down the number, and I made the call that changed everything. The IRS gave me a bill for $40,000. Tax Relief Advocates got that down to $3,200. I've paid 9 cents on the dollar. Now that's a great deal in anybody's book.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Will did and call TRA for a consultation.
But for me, the real win is I got my life back.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-488-2578. 800-488-2578. That's 800-488-2578.
Amanda, I've got a cruise planned in a couple of months, and I was thinking about the other people who may have cruises planned coming up a few months from now, and why right now would be the best time for them to begin their weight loss journey on Soda Weight Loss.
If you started right now, you could lose 20, 30, 40 pounds before June.
That's right.
I lost 37 pounds in 3 months, 3.5 years ago. And the beauty about soda is it's not a quick fix. This is learning that is going to last you the rest of your life and help you be healthy.
Your clothes fit better. your energy comes back. You don't get winded going upstairs.
Yeah.
Things that maybe you don't even realize. When I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months, it felt like a transformation.
You learn what works for your body so you don't get addicted to shots or drugs. You just work with a nutritionist who's going to teach you how to keep the weight off for a lifetime.
Right now, you should go check out sodaweightloss.com, see all the thousands of before and after pictures, or speak with a nutritionist by giving a call 866-800-SODA.
Soda Weight Loss. Join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime. Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. And back to you, Cameron.
Speeds have picked up back to normal on northbound on I-215's westbound headed towards the 201 interchange. In Davis County, however, on I-15, we're seeing a patch of pretty heavy slowing southbound as you approach the Highway 89 interchange. Otherwise, we're seeing good speeds across Salt Lake and Utah County, except, of course, for a little bit of congestion on Pioneer Crossing. Got an old car? Donate it at carsforkids.org. It's easy, and they'll pick it up as soon as tomorrow. Call 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS today. Cameron Elliott in the KSL Traffic Center.
Just a few clouds today, highs around 70. More clouds tomorrow with a cold front coming in that'll bring some rain Saturday night. And Sunday, the daytime high temperature will only be 48. Right now, it's partly cloudy and 45 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back. I'm Greg Skordas, but I'm alongside Jim Bennett today. And Jim, if I wasn't here today, I would be in St. George for our spring conference. The Utah State Bar has their conference. Actually, my wife got an award yesterday, so I'm already in the doghouse for not going. But it's going today. And one of the things that's being presented in about a half an hour is a presentation regarding a study that has been done by the State Bar and did a survey of threats and violence against the Utah legal profession. Something I wouldn't have expected.
Well, that's not something that you necessarily experienced personally.
Right.
Either.
I know in 44 years doing criminal defense work, I don't know that I've had a lot of bad experiences, but apparently a lot of lawyers have. We do have attorney Stephen Kelson with us. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hi, happy to be here.
I've known Stephen for a while, very good, skilled litigator. And tell us what this survey was about and what you did and what you found.
Yeah, what this survey is about, 20 years ago, the Utah Bar did an initial survey about threats and violence against the Utah legal profession. This is a new survey just to check and to see what's taken place over the last 20 years.
And is it getting better, worse, or what did we learn?
It's very interesting. So over the last 20 years, what we find is that the bar has almost doubled in size. With that, the number of threats and violence that have occurred, the number of threats themselves have increased. The overall percentage of threats across the bar has decreased some. But on the other end of it is occurring. Over 93% of the threats and acts of violence that have occurred, that have been reported with this survey, have occurred within the past 20 years. So there is a 44% of the respondents to the survey which are showing that they have received threats or been the recipient of violence over the past 20 years.
Well, as the non-lawyer in this conversation, I'm wondering, what is it that constitutes a threat? I mean, because I confess I've told a fair number of lawyer jokes in my time, but those wouldn't be considered threats, would they?
No, they would not.
What do you call 100 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean?
Oh, don't say.
Yeah, that would not constitute a threat. It would be a threat where there is a feeling that they are endangered by what is taking place or an imminent threat of violence.
Stephen, is there a demographics? In other words, are there certain type of practitioners who may be more prone to receiving threats? For example, my own practice doing criminal defense, my partner who does family law seem to be areas where you'd be dealing with the public and dealing with sort of a more personal relationships with people that could be problematic.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Across the United States, there have been some 30 statewide surveys that have been done. And these are showing that the number one area generally, and these toggle, but generally the top areas that you look at and the top areas that receive threats and violence against the attorneys are family law, and then you go into criminal defense, criminal prosecution. And particularly with family law, you're dealing with people which are just in high extreme emotions. And there's often a spillover effect where someone is going to be blamed. It falls often on the attorneys, whether it's their own attorneys on the opposite side.
Well, you're talking about attorneys. I'm curious, the political environment seems to have a whole lot of hostility toward judges at this point. Are you seeing any sorts of threats escalating towards judges as well as attorneys?
I believe that if we dig down into the survey itself, we can find information dealing with the judges. I don't have that information on the survey to give to you. However, if we look on the national level, if we look to the U.S. Marshal surveys, there is showing increases of threats made against judges nationally on the federal level.
You said that family law, criminal defense, and criminal prosecution, and I've done all three of those, mostly defense, but quite a bit of criminal prosecution. And it did occur to me, Stephen, that there were some situations where it got a little dicey as an attorney. I was talking to Jim in the break as we were leading up to this about my own experiences, and I thought, well, I haven't really had threats, but as I go back, there have been some times when I've been very uncomfortable. What do you expect to come from a survey like this? Are there things that the bar can do, or you're talking about it in about a half an hour? What would be the purpose of the survey and your study and your presentation today?
Yeah, the first part on this is really a discussion and to look at, is there a trend of what's taking place? And there is. There's a trend in the method of how threats are occurring against the legal profession here in Utah. Along with it's a discussion about the well-being of the practice. Attorneys are receiving threats and violence. What are they doing about it? Some of the practitioners have identified they're happy they're getting out of the practice. It's a small number, but they're identifying it. Some people are telling others, don't become attorneys. For students that are in law school, this is an issue that they don't think about, that there are areas of practice you're going to be receiving threats. Perhaps there's a potential violence could occur, but it also affects the functioning of our court systems. If there's threats against the court system, it can slow things down. It can affect our attorneys, whether they're thinking more about their self-protection or rather what's taking place in the court around them. It can also have an effect upon the access to justice. So I believe that this survey actually opens the door for a discussion of well-being, also in talking about and training about safety and safety concerns and what attorneys should be doing.
Well, this is a survey of Utah legal professionals.
Yes.
Is there anything specific to Utah that is different from the kinds of challenges that are faced nationally or in other states?
At this point, it's hard to say. This is the first survey which is following up on the first round of surveys. So I believe Michigan is going to be doing its own survey in follow-up to a survey which was done back in 2013, 2014. And so to look comparatively, it's difficult to say. But there are differences from state to state in regards to the kinds of threats or reported threats that are taking place in the different regions of the country.
That was Attorney Stephen Kelson, and thank you for joining us this morning. That's an important survey, and I hope that some of the attorneys that go are able to report back to us, because I'd be really interested in getting sort of into the nuts and bolts of that. We really didn't have a lot of time for that, but that was great. And he's literally presenting that at 10:15 today in at the Dixie Conference Center there at the Utah State Bar Spring Conference. When we come back after the break, a Costco shopper has now sued Costco in an attempt to secure tariff refunds for U.S. customers. We'll discuss the latest in the tariff turmoil next.
There's something about this time of year when it's easy to get the blahs. The holidays are in the rearview mirror. Even Valentine's Day is in the rearview mirror. It's time to put a little sparkle in your life, and that's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And here along the Wasatch Front, we have 2 locations. Hotel Park City. If you're up enjoying a day of skiing, wrap up that day with a delicious meal at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And then, of course, there are great fun activities that are happening in downtown Salt Lake City, sporting events, movies, you name it. And again, right there at 275 Southwest Temple, there's a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse waiting for you. The food is prepared perfectly and delivered on that 500-degree sizzling plate. Whether it's a steak, poultry dish, seafood, everything cooked to your expectations at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And the side dishes and the desserts, they are simply legendary. Downtown Salt Lake City and Hotel Park City, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
So my friends over at Pure Talk have been sending me customer feedback from consumeraffairs.com, where thousands of people rate and review the top wireless providers. Here, for instance, is a nice note from James in Raleigh, North Carolina, who writes, quote, "After hearing Mike Rowe's ad, we made the switch to Pure Talk, and we couldn't be happier. We went from spending $1,200 a year with T-Mobile to $420 with Pure Talk. Thanks, Mike. Switch today! Exclamation point. Pure Talk is saving James $820 a year. And because he literally wrote the words switch today in capital letters with an exclamation point, I'm going to go ahead and dedicate this commercial to him. So folks, take it from James in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pure Talk can give you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month on the same 5G service the big guys are overcharging you for. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. You'll also save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 to save an additional 50%. Thanks, James.
Who is Farm Bureau Financial Services? At our core, we're relationship builders. We're home and auto bundlers, life insurers, farm and ranch protectors, and retirement planners. We're neighbors, community members, and friends. We're the people you can count on now and for years to come. Find a Farm Bureau agent at fbfs.com/protect. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company.
445,000 Utahns, including 1 in 5 Utah kids, face hunger. Join Utah Food Bank and Associated Food Stores for the Feed Utah Food Drive, March 7th through 14th, to donate non-perishable food while you shop at any participating Associated Food store. Or organize your own food drive and drop off donations at your local store. Every donation stays right here to help local families move from hunger to hope. Donate and learn at utahfoodbank.org/feedutah.
Come on, the meeting's already started.
Sometimes it's important.
Last call, boarding gate number 9.
Sometimes it's urgent.
Prep for alarm.
Sometimes it's vital. Hospital treatment within 1 hour of a stroke can prevent lifelong disability. If you notice someone experiencing sudden weakness on one side or having a problem speaking, walking, or seeing, call 911 fast. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. A message from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke.
We'll admit, we've already thrown in the towel on the New Year's resolution.
Yeah, and we made it through dry January. But one healthy new habit we're sticking with is Active Liver from New Nordic. Did you know your liver works around the clock processing food, sugar, alcohol, and everyday toxins? All things that can really impact your health.
That's why daily support matters. Active Liver is designed to help protect normal liver function and support your body's natural detox process.
With trusted ingredients like milk thistle, turmeric, and artichoke extract, it's gentle enough to take all year long.
No harsh cleanses, no extreme detoxes, just simple daily liver support. We really feel the difference.
Yup, more energy and the peace of mind knowing we can enjoy the good things in life while giving our liver the love it needs.
Active Liver is available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com. Or you can find it in stores at CVS, Meijer Grocery, Wegmans, and now Active Liver is available at your local GNC.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
You know, Jim, I follow the Supreme Court really closely, and you get here in the mornings at 9 o'clock for the show, and sometimes the Supreme Court's issuing opinions just as we're going. And on the 20th of February, about 3 weeks ago, the Supreme Court issued an opinion. It was really early in the morning, like 7 or 7:30, regarding the tariffs, Trump's tariffs. And we were sort of going back and forth about what they were going to do. And, of course, Trump had imposed these tariffs, and there was some concern about whether he'd overstepped his authority. It really wasn't an emergency powers. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, he overstepped his authority, and they threw them out. And so I was in this very studio with Andy and Amanda talking about that and why they threw it out, because he'd overstepped his authority, that it was something that really Congress should have done, not the president. And so I was asked, well, what happens to these tariffs that people who gets it back? And I was completely stuck. I mean, and I was on live air. They're like, well, so what's going to happen to all these people that have been overpaying tariffs? I'm like, does it go to the company? Does it go to the exporter? Does it go to the, who knows? People were paying more than they should have because of what had happened. But it took me a while to figure out where the money goes.
Well, and that seems to be a question the Trump administration is continuing to wrestle with.
Right, yes.
Because nobody knows how that's going to be handled or how that's going to work.
Right, and now we have some companies who are facing class action lawsuits from customers claiming that they're owed tariffs, including Costco. Here's ABC's Peter Haramboulis, who will explain.
Companies like Costco, FedEx, and eyewear giant Luxottica are now facing class action lawsuits from customers who want their money back for tariffs that have since been overturned by the Supreme Court. While only companies are expected to receive a refund from the government, the lawsuits say customers have unfairly shouldered the cost of the tariffs, which are generally passed on to consumers. The lawsuits come as the Trump administration says it's nearly halfway done with a system to pay out refunds to companies. Peter Haramboulis, ABC News, New York.
So what that seems to imply is that these lawsuits are filed by people, let's say customers of Costco or this Luxottica eyeglasses, anyway, who say, okay, we overpaid and you're getting a refund now as a company, so you should give us some money back. I mean, I don't know if it's that simple, but that seems to be what the basis of the lawsuit is.
Well, I just don't understand how you would be able to enforce that. I mean, I don't know if I could go through all of my Costco bills and determine.
Yeah, so you've got to. The courts are going to say, okay, who is the class? Who wants to join this? And is there really going to be a class action lawsuit? I'm like you. I don't know that it's going to be that easy to figure out, or that Costco really necessarily is going to have to pay that back to their customers on a case-by-case basis. I think the logistics of it is going to be really hard to figure out.
Well, the whole thing for me has been so difficult to figure out as a disaffected former Republican. When I was a Republican, if the Republican Party stood for anything, it was free markets and free trade and lower taxes. And tariffs fly in the face of all of those things. And now apparently to be a Republican, you have to do a complete 180 on the kind of principles that mattered to the Republican Party that I grew up in and that my father represented. It just seems absolutely bizarre to me. Up is down, black is white. I mean, is that the kind of reaction you've had on
yes,
on some of this?
Very much so. And it is the strangest thing. And then, of course, after this ruling came out where the administration was told, hey, you had no authority to do that, he immediately imposed a new set of tariffs.
Global tariffs on everybody.
Under a different legal theory, saying, well, okay, maybe I overstepped my boundaries on the Emergency Economic Powers Act. Yeah, that was wrong. I'm going to do it under this theory. And that's going to be tested as well. A year from now, the Supreme Court may come back and say, hey, you shouldn't have done that either. But this lawsuit involves a Costco shopper filed a lawsuit in the federal court in Illinois and wants a declaration that the company must return to customers any refunds it receives for tariffs paid under that act because of the Supreme Court decision. FedEx is facing a similar class action lawsuit. It was filed in Florida last month. Costco did not immediately respond to comment. A lawyer for the plaintiffs said that they didn't get a immediate response for comment either. So we don't know. What we're hearing is this is a quote from the plaintiffs, from the lawsuit rather. The lawsuit seeks to prevent Costco, the third largest retailer in the world, from double recovery. In other words, they already made a profit on it, and now they're going to get a refund, so they shouldn't be entitled to do that. So, but it's like you said. I mean, the devil's always in the details. And you know what else? What was interesting in the lawsuit, in the Supreme Court ruling, was one of the dissenting judges, maybe in Gorsuch, I don't recall, said, "How are we ever going to figure this out?" He predicted this very thing. It didn't make sense to me because that's not their job. You know, the Supreme Court says, was it constitutional or not? They said no. But he said, you're opening up a can of worms because who's going to repay these tariffs and where's it going to go? And I thought that was an interesting thing for him to say, A, because I don't know that that's really part of the decision, but B, because it's what we all thought after this happened.
Well, my understanding, and again, you're the attorney and I'm not, but my understanding is that the Supreme Court's role is exactly as you describe it, that they don't have to clean up the mess.
Right.
You know, they just say, you goofed, you guys got to figure out how to clean up the mess. And the fact that you have justices like that trying to say, okay, well, how do you navigate the policy implications of this? Do you find that problematic? I find that problematic to some degree.
Yeah, I found it problematic that he said that in his decision, because it made it sound like he dissented because of the fact that this decision would create this problem. But you still have to deal with the underlying problem, which was what was his authority? Yeah. Remember, Biden had the same problem when he tried to
cancel student
right
loans,
away student loans, and the courts finally said, you know what, that's not your deal, that's not your province, that's something that needs to go through Congress. And then Biden said, well, we tried and they didn't do anything. And now we're dealing with war. You know, does Trump have the ability to declare war on Iran? I mean, we think the Congress should have something to do with that. They've sort of abdicated that a little bit too, but there's probably going to be some level of intervention by the courts at some point in that as well. These executive orders that Trump has done, and he's done, hundreds of them, are things we just haven't seen before. It's something that you don't appreciate until they're happening, because we usually think you run it through Congress, then the president approves it. He can give them ideas on what he wants to do, but he's just overriding them and saying, no, this is what I'm going to do.
Well, and he's very good at recognizing that sometimes the wheels of justice turn slowly. Right. You know, he just goes ahead and acts and waits for somebody else to clean up after him. And so far that seems to be working for him, and the legal system doesn't seem to be catching up.
Right. Individual courts are jumping on it pretty quickly, but like you said, exactly right. You got to go to the district court. You have to have a trial. It goes to the Court of Appeals. That's another 6 months. It goes to the Supreme Court. If they want to take it, they don't have to even grant hearings on some of these cases. So, yeah, you're working your way through the system, and I think Trump knows that, because he's now imposed this new set of tariffs, thinking, okay, a year from now, maybe somebody will tell me I did the wrong thing, and then I'll find a different way to do it. Tariffs, I mean, there are a lot of things that happen nationally and locally, but tariffs seem to be the big thing that Trump has done. And he loves that word. He loves that concept. He thinks that, right or wrong, that it's going to make a huge difference in what we're doing in our country. But it just seems like somebody's got to rein him in and say, okay, at least let's run it by Congress.
Well, absolutely. And it's just so bizarre when you hear him talk about tariffs, you hear him talk about trade deficits, you hear him talk about markets, and you get the sense that this guy, who's supposed to be the greatest businessman in the history of the world, has absolutely no understanding whatsoever as to how markets work. I mean, everything is a zero-sum game to this guy.
Yeah.
In order for the United States to do well, China has to do poorly. You know, it's always, okay, we win if somebody else loses. And that's really not the way markets work. Yeah. I mean, Stephen Covey is rolling over in his grave. Everything, you can do win-win. You can have people, you can have growing economies where everybody is doing well. And Trump sees everything as punitive and sees, okay, if I take something out of these other countries' hide, that's the only way that the United States can benefit.
Yeah, well, the Supreme Court's reined him in on that one, and we'll see where the money goes when we come back. Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk, is in court today. Maybe we might be breaking away to that when we come back after the break. That'll happen at 10 o'clock, his court hearing. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour happening right now. Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk, is back in a Provo courtroom. Prosecutors and his defense attorneys will present arguments on why cameras should be allowed or not allowed at future hearings. Robinson is facing a capital murder charge and could face the death penalty if convicted. The Springville and Mapleton fire departments are monitoring the Mill Race fire this morning that broke out just west of I-15 in Utah County. Utah Fire Info says the fire has burned around 100 acres and is believed to be human-caused. It's burning in a marshy area, making it difficult to access, and it was sending a lot of smoke into the sky yesterday evening. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, the attacks against Iran are nearly 2 weeks old. And Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says the U.S. is reaching its objectives, but they're still working on securing the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran is blocking with strikes against ships that try and get through.
We understood the ability to interdict shipping is something Iran has done for 40 years. It's key terrain. They've used it as leverage. The world is seeing what they'll do to fight back in that context. And so we've heard them talk about taking various measures, and we're planning for all of them.
Hegseth says they are weighing options to escort ships through the strait, but they have not yet put that plan into motion. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 16 points, just a fraction. We're at 46,661. Coming up, beautiful today, breezy through the weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Utah's largest sportsman's expo for the entire family is back Thursday through Sunday at Mountain America Expo Center. Discover your next adventure, buy the latest gear, book a trip, learn tips at dozens of free seminars at the Adventure Theater, Dog Arena, and new Campfire Theater. Bring your kids to the Giant Youth Fair. Your life outdoors, Thursday through Sunday at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Youth under 16 enter free. More info at sportsexpos.com.
Hey guys, it's Hans Olsen here talking with Mint Medical Clinic about ED. Bailey, I've heard you guys have a unique approach to ED. Could you tell us more about that?
Yes, of course. The Trifecta is our most comprehensive treatment. It combines 3 therapies into one program: acoustic wave therapy for blood flow, GLP-1 peptide therapy for weight loss, and hormone therapy to rebalance the whole system. Most clinics treat just one piece of the puzzle. We treat the whole system simultaneously. That's how you get results that no single treatment can deliver on its own.
I know you've got an incredible offer for our listeners. Tell us what's going on.
We do, and this one is big. For our listeners, we're offering a completely free consultation plus a free blood flow ultrasound. That's a $650 value at no cost. On top of that, everyone who comes in gets a free intimacy kit to take home. And here's the kicker, is for the next 20 callers who sign up for a treatment program, we're throwing in a free 5-night luxury hotel stay in Hawaii. That's right, 5 nights in Hawaii on us. So don't wait on this one. Pick up the phone right now and call 801-804-8000. That's 801-804-8000.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
It's time for March Window Mania. From Advanced Window Products, bounce on over to your phone and they'll give you $2,500 off your quote on 10 windows or more. Get the Home Court Advantage. They'll build your windows right here in Salt Lake City, custom for Utah's climate, and you save because they sell direct to the public, no middleman. It's a new season. Spring is here, and when it comes to state-of-the-art custom windows and insulated frames, Advanced Windows is top-seeded, so put them at the top of your bracket and make the call 801-850-9100. You'll get $2,500 off from the family-owned champion since 1986. For 40 years, they've been building and installing replacement windows. Don't wait for the draft. to come seeping through your old windows. They'll save you a ton of money on your energy bill, and Advanced offers financing as low as $150 a month. It's the March Window Mania special. Quick, before the buzzer, make the call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100 or visit advancedwindows.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big. UCCU, love where you bank. And here's Cameron Elliott.
On I-15, we've got good speeds in Salt Lake and Utah counties, but we're seeing a little slowing in Davis County headed southbound as you reach the Highway 89 interchange in Farmington. In Utah County, Pioneer Crossing and 2100 North are both dappled with patches of slowing in both directions. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cameron Elliott in the KSL Traffic Center.
We should reach 70 degrees today, but we cool off a bit over the weekend as a cold front blows through. Then a big warm-up starts on Tuesday, taking us into the 80s later in the week. Right now, it's 52 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
We have some breaking news. The hearing has started this morning in the case of the state of Utah versus Tyler Robinson. Jim, if you recall, he's the man who was accused of shooting Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University last fall. That case has been proceeding on a fairly fast track. There have been a lot of things that have happened in that case, and I think what the judge is addressing today, and we'll be breaking to this when he starts getting to the nuts and bolts of it here, are two motions that I'm looking at. One is that Tyler Robinson's attorneys want to close part of an evidentiary hearing that's coming up in April. And this hearing, it involves media in the courtroom security, and him dressing in civilian clothes and whatnot. And I think what they're trying to avoid is getting the public aroused that there's more danger to this man, that there's more mystery, and that because ultimately he's got to go see a jury, and they want to have a fair trial without this aura that he's some sort of a monster, and so I think they're dealing with that. There's also another request. If you recall, Tyler Robinson's attorneys tried to get the county attorney's office off of the case because one of its members had a daughter who was at the event, and she was quite upset, and he's now the lead prosecutor on the case. And they're saying, well, because his daughter was there and she was sort of victimized in her own way, that he can't be fair. And the judge has ruled against him so far, but now that motion has sort of expanded to the county attorney, Jeff Gray himself, that some of his staff and some of his people were there, and they were upset by it, so that might taint his ability to be a fair prosecutor in the case.
Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but you can explain that to me, because isn't the prosecutor supposed to be motivated to be able to convict the suspect?
You nailed it. I mean, that's exactly right. Like, the fact that you don't like a person you're prosecuting, and I was a prosecutor for 8 years, the fact that you don't like them, or even if you have some sort of, personal interest in the case, doesn't make you a less effective prosecutor. Maybe, I don't know.
Might make you more
effective. Might make you better. But, I mean, certainly you wouldn't want to prosecute a case that involved a loved one as a victim. But the fact that a victim was present for this event, a family member was present for this event, and he or she was traumatized, I don't know, that doesn't make you a bad prosecutor. I think that the lead prosecutor in the case is addressing the court now. Let's just break to that for a minute and just see where they're going with this.
By the RCFL, which is the Regional Computer Forensics Lab. That was a 24 terabyte hard drive. I don't imagine it was entirely full, but there was a large amount of information that was provided there. As I said, we met and talked about discovery. We talked about some of our expectations. We are candidly still waiting for something.
Okay, they're talking about what's called discovery. We'll get to that's not very interesting. Discovery is just the process where, the state has to share its case with the defense. And in America, the Constitution provides that you have, with due process, you have the right to see all the evidence against you, whether it's exculpatory or inculpatory. And so they're trying to decide how to get this information to them. There were 3,500 people there, and I think probably a large number of them were interviewed. So I think they're just going to have interviews from people saying, I was there, I heard a noise, it was really scary. Yeah. See you later, goodbye. But I don't know that there's otherwise, I can't think of a whole lot of information that there would be on a case like this. I mean, it was a fairly straightforward investigation. I mean, he and he's obviously presumed innocent, but he arguably acted alone, you know, and they have pictures of him, and he may have made a confession to his father or something like that. So I don't know why there would be such a huge amount of discovery, except, like I said, the fact that there were so many people there, and I'm sure that a lot of them were interviewed.
Well, sure, but I can't imagine that anybody who was there has anything to say about Tyler Robinson.
Right.
Personally.
None of them saw him. And you're so smart. You know, I like talking to a non-lawyer person who goes, "Hey, well, that doesn't make sense," because even as a lawyer, I'm thinking, you know, and getting the discovery, getting all that information out, obviously is important. The defense has a right to see that, but the case hasn't moved slowly by any means. It's moving on a fairly fast track, and the defense can have their preliminary hearing whenever they want, but they want to get the discovery first. They want to get all the evidence first. They also, this whole idea of publicity, cameras in the courtroom. I mean, there's cameras in the courtroom now.
Yeah, we're
following it live as it's going. Is an important part. I found in my own practice, because I've done a few high profile cases, that when there are cameras in the courtroom, we all behave a little differently.
Yeah.
You know, and in a way that isn't necessarily good. And I not being critical of judges, but especially judges, you know, they're like very, you know, I don't know, it's the colloquy that we often have in court, the little, not necessarily banter, but the, you know, you kind of can go back and forth a little bit. It doesn't happen when you got cameras in the whole jury box. Instead of a jury, you got a line of cameras. It's a little tougher. As a defense attorney, when you have cameras in the courtroom, I think judges are more likely to act in a way that the public wants. You know, they'll want to be, I guess, tough on crime. I don't mean to be critical, because judges, I think, do the right thing. But I don't know, it just seems like when there's a camera in the courtroom and I'm a defense attorney and I've got a sentencing, somebody's about to be sentenced, and it's a close case whether they should go to prison or not, and the camera's in the courtroom, it's more like I'm like, oh, this is not going to go well for me. Sometimes I just feel like that. But, you know, and this is a case that's tough on a number of levels, because it's like you said, I mean, a lot of people saw it. A lot of people were there. The video was there. Mm-hmm. And he wants to, you know, have limited cameras in the courtroom. And in America, in this day and age, the public has a right to know what's happening in the courtroom.
Well, sure. I mean, I think, I mean, I go all the way back to the O.J. trial. And I think so much of the camera in the courtroom kind of norms that we've established sort of stem from that. And I don't think there's any question that distorted that whole process in a number of ways. I remember Jay Leno and the dancing Edos, you know,
right.
I mean, when it becomes a sort of circus and a spectacle. And this, I think, has the potential to do that. I mean, this is such a politically charged case, and so many people are looking at Tyler Robinson as a kind of, I don't know, icon is the wrong word, because it's not a positive thing, but people on either side are saying, okay, well, he represents all Democrats, or he represents all people who have transgender partners. Or they're trying to draw this larger conclusion from an isolated case.
Right.
I mean, we have no... all the evidence I've seen is, yes, he acted alone, and the idea that this speaks to the larger national condition, I don't think it can carry that much water.
Yeah, the timing of it was bad, though. I mean, in terms of what's happening nationally.
Right.
And Charlie Kirk was let's face it, I mean, he was very good, very articulate, and knew how to get a crowd going, but he was a lightning rod a little bit himself.
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly was horrible what happened to him, and inexcusable. It bothered me, and we've only got a few seconds left here, that it happened here in Utah. I was like, like Spencer Cox, like, please tell me this didn't happen here in Utah. But it did, because it's not the kind of thing we think we're standing for here. But another thing is, and then I'll quit, he's in court today, and he's wearing civilian clothes. I mean, when we go to court for hearings like just schedule a date or something like that, and our client's in jail, they'll just come out in their jail clothes because it's such a hassle to change them out every time. But he's coming into court with his civilian clothes. It looks like that's how he'll be every time he goes to court.
Well, it'll be interesting to watch, but this has just been absolutely devastating on every level.
Yeah. If they get to the nuts and bolts of some of the motions here, we'll break away to that. But when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about the sale of that large warehouse in the northwest quadrant of Salt Lake City. Has a lot of people concerned about what the Department of Homeland Security is doing, what they're trying to set up, and if it's going to be an immigration center. We'll speak with a Utah immigration attorney after the break.
Did you know GoodRx can help you save on medication, manage prescriptions, and get trusted health information? If you're one of the millions living with a heart condition, check GoodRx for an easier, more affordable way to manage your health. GoodRx offers common heart medications for under $30. Just search for your prescription, find the best price, then show your pharmacist the GoodRx coupon. And it works whether you have insurance or not. To start saving and better manage your heart health, download the free app or visit GoodRx.com today. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
Get 5 quarts of Valvoline full synthetic motor oil and a MicroGuard Select oil filter for just $36.99. Limit supply.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. The movie show broadcasting live today from Sound Sleep in Sandy. And I'm joined now by Mandy Nelson from Sound Sleep. Mandy, I was reading this article in the Washington Post that I just found a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And it says why your most creative ideas may come after a night of sleep and how important sleep is in problem solving. Science actually says you should sleep on it.
Yeah.
Only problem is, what if you don't get the sleep that you need?
That makes
it's
it
not
difficult.
helpful.
That's right.
So how do we fix that? What could be causing people to not get the sleep they need?
Yeah, well, we're here today to talk about obstructive sleep apnea and what we have to offer, which is an alternate to a CPAP machine. It's a custom fit mouthpiece that you wear at night instead of having the mask and the hoses and all of that.
I got this big red mark on my nose from my CPAP mask. I don't like it.
Yep.
And so what you guys use instead of a CPAP machine, what do you call it?
It's a custom fit mouthpiece. We call it an oral appliance to treat obstructive sleep apnea. So they're custom to your teeth, and we'll talk more about it.
Kind of looks like a mouth guard.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like a retainer, yeah.
So what happens for people who have obstructive sleep apnea? First of all, how do they find out if they have it?
Well, today we are offering a free sleep screening, which they can come in and pick up a machine that they will take home and use in the comfort of their own bed.
Machine's probably a bigger, it's really small.
Little.
It's very unobtrusive.
It is. And you just wear it one night in the comfort of your own bed. So you're not going to sleep over somewhere at a hospital with all sorts of wires. You know how that goes,
and people
Andy.
watching you.
Exactly. And then you'll come back the next day and have a consultation with one of our sleep consultants and go over the data and find out if you do have obstructive sleep apnea. And there's all sorts of, things that could be causing that: snoring, if you wake up with morning headaches, if you have fatigue during the day, if you wake up a lot throughout the night. Those are all, symptoms.
One that I'm surprised at, if you find yourself drowsy at intersections when you're driving, not necessarily while you're driving, but when you're at an intersection and you find yourself drifting, that's often a mark that you're not getting the restive sleep that you need. So Sound Sleep can help you out. A free sleep screening, a free sleep consultation, but you got to call and schedule an appointment during the movie show between now and 1 o'clock. Mandy, what's the number they need to call?
It's 801-716-8672, or you can also go to soundsleepmedical.com.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry you own isn't new. It's inherited. A ring from a grandmother. A necklace tucked away in a drawer. Pieces full of memories, but no longer your style. Duke's Jeweler specializes in reimagining family heirlooms into custom pieces you'll actually wear and love. Duke's on-site jewelers and designers work with you one-on-one to honor the original story while creating something fresh, modern, and uniquely yours. From resetting diamonds into new engagement rings to transforming multiple heirloom pieces into one stunning design, every project is crafted with care, precision, and intention. Don't let meaningful jewelry sit unused. Let it live on beautifully. Visit Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville or online at dukesjewelers.com. Duke's Jewelers, where old stories become new treasures. dukesjewelers.com.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
The new Inside Sources.
Well, the sale of a large warehouse in Salt Lake City has a lot of people concerned that Department of Homeland Security might be trying to set up an immigration detention center there here in Salt Lake City. This is a $145.4 million deal for a building and 24.9 acre parcel that sits on 60th West and 3rd South, 833,000 square feet. It's sure got a lot of people wondering what's going on and what are they going to do with that?
Well, yeah, and it's none of the answers to that question are particularly encouraging as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. We do have at KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff, who's there or has been there. Don, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Yeah, we're well. So what I mean, you wonder, 833,000 square foot building on 29 acres. Certainly we've driven past there before. What was this building used for previously? Do we know?
I don't know. The building looks abandoned right now. I was out there this morning trying to get a little bit better look at it. It's several hundred feet long, and as I was trying to find out kind of how wide it is, I had a gentleman in a black pickup truck that kind of waved me off, and then kind of was very carefully watching me, so I didn't get any closer to get a better look at things.
Wise move, Don. That was smart.
Well, so who's the gentleman waving you off? Is this somebody from the federal government? Was he one of the men in black?
I don't know. He was in a black pickup truck, if that helps.
Yeah. So describe the layout. Describe it. You said it's just a big building and it doesn't have any markings or anything on it that would lead us to conclude what it had ever been there for.
No, in fact, the building is the facade is completely blank. I had to kind of get closer before I could verify the address, and it's just up the street and around the corner from the UPS hub. And as I was sitting there this morning, there were probably 100, maybe even a few more UPS trucks, various sizes, from the vans all the way up to a couple of triple trailer trucks went by. So this is in an area that gets a lot of traffic. There were a lot of people on 3rd South there at 1600 West, moving up and down, different vehicles, a lot of semi trucks and things of that nature that are driving out in front of that warehouse.
Well, so the purchase has gone through. When do they start actually remodeling the building?
Do we know
we don't know any of that information. So far, the Department of Homeland Security has not responded to any requests that have been made regarding, what is this building for? What are you planning to use it for? They've been pretty silent on that issue.
Well, thanks for joining us this morning, Don, and be careful with the man in the black pickup truck. don't confront him. That was KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff. We also have Carlos Trujillo, Utah immigration attorney, on the line with us. Carlos, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So we don't have federal holding facilities in Utah, at least not that I know of, and this seems to be an attempt. I don't know, Carlos, would DHS have a reason to get a 833,000 square foot warehouse in Salt Lake City other than to house prisoners?
Yeah, well, that seems to be the plan, and whether it qualifies under a need or a want is difficult to really see the reasoning behind it. Even if you were to count the people that get the federal detainers in Metro or any other local jails, it wouldn't even justify to get a structure like this.
Well, so it sounds like they're going to probably ship some people in from out of state. Is that your sense of it?
It could because that is the practice. They carousel people from different states. We know this because the Utah community that gets taken by them ends up sometimes in Wyoming and then down to Las Vegas and then down sometimes to Arizona, sometimes to California, sometimes to Texas. So they like to do that. So if they get a big warehouse that they can maybe help and actually have Utah as a hub to bring people from other states, then that will be one way to justify the number.
Carlos, in my world of criminal law, we have federal prisons and federal penitentiaries to hold people. We don't have any such thing in Utah. But when you talk about federal detainees or people that have immigration issues, are they held typically in the same kind of jails and prisons that the typical criminals are?
So it is a difficult question because resources, sometimes they get to be in the same jails, the same prisons. They are, though, separated from those dangerous criminals at times. And there has been reports in Texas specifically that I was involved with some clients that some immigrants that were awaiting their hearing, they were on the same general population of people that were convicted killers. So it changes a lot. They try their best to separate them, but sometimes they end up in the same place.
Well, I mean, these are people that haven't gone through a trial, that haven't been convicted of any kind of crime, and these should be sort of temporary kinds of holdings that are taking place here. So that seems really problematic that they're being treated like hardened criminals. Would you agree with that?
Most definitely. And I want to give you the other side of it as well, because as it is problematic to have a mix with the people that are convicted killers, murderers, or convicted criminals in general, then you go to the other side when you're talking about temporary detentions, but that you do it in places like a warehouse where you're not going to even have walls. You erect pretty much link fences inside of a warehouse, just like you see at a shelter of animals. And that's the way that these people are being treated in some of these detention centers or pop-up detention centers. They are coming up all across the United States.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Carlos. So this is something that is occurring nationally, these kind of buildings that are being purchased to hold federal detainees, correct?
Yes, it is happening all across the United States. It's a new practice. It's the money that they got from the big beautiful bill that they're putting on use, which brings into question the wisdom or the real intent behind using this money, because we have talked here in your program about how in the state of Utah we went from 5 judges down to 2 judges, and we have hearings being scheduled for 2030, and yet we're using all this money to get a warehouse where I want to give people something to think about. In our immigration court building, really nice building in West Valley City, we have a courtroom right there that is just completely empty, not being used. Okay, or we have one being used by a judge, but it can be used by 2 judges. But if we can use the money instead of doing the warehouses, but actually getting those judges, wouldn't that be a better use of that money so that we can actually get the cases adjudicated much faster?
Well, so I asked this question of the Senate Minority Leader, and I'm going to ask you: is do you have any tools at your disposal to either slow or stop this?
No. Sadly, no. And one of the reasons, though, that I did take this interview this morning as I was so busy with other stuff, it was because the way to stop this is the Utah community. The Utah community that is a very loving community, a Utah community that is a Christ-like community in many ways, needs to wake up. They need to realize what is happening. Hopefully when the job is done and we see the link fences being raised up, people can understand the inhumane practice that is being done in these detention centers.
Carlos, we've only got less than a minute left, but what was your first thought when you heard about this purchase?
I was... Okay, that's a complicated question because I'll tell you this, okay? I am heartbroken. Because I have seen it. I have seen these places firsthand on the first Trump administration. I know what is going on inside of these places, and it should not be happening in the free world. It shouldn't. In the other side, I will tell you this. I always try to bring a little bit of balance and positivism here. There's a lot of people that get separated from family members, and they cannot visit the detained person in Wyoming because then he gets moved to California or anywhere else. The fact that they're going to be here at the very least, I know families will be very glad to be able to at least keep touch with their detained family members.
Thank you very much. That was Carlos Trujillo, Utah immigration attorney. And speaking of the Trump administration, they are considering loosening the shipping rules in an effort to lower fuel prices, I assume in the Strait of Hormuz, which, as we know, oil prices at least have surged as a result of the war in Iran. We'll learn more about this and the change in the economic outlook amid this conflict when we come back.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. The BYU men's basketball team was knocked out of the Big 12 basketball tournament by the Houston Cougars. But BYU head coach Kevin Young says they're encouraged by what they learned this week about themselves in 2 wins and a close loss as they prepare for the NCAA tournament.
It is amazing how much a team's belief can change in a short period of time. When a group comes together.
The team is now getting some much-needed rest and waiting for Selection Sunday to see what seed they'll get and where they'll play in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. The Utah State Aggies pulled off a blowout win against UNLV in the quarterfinals of the Mountain West tournament. The Aggies will be back on the court tonight in the semifinals playing Nevada. Our top national story this hour, 4 Americans are now confirmed dead out of the 6-person crew aboard a U.S. KC-135 refueling plane that crashed in Iraq. ABC's Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez says unlike fighter jets, this kind of tanker does not have parachutes or ejector seats.
About 20 years ago, the Air Force decided that they were going to remove any parachutes that were aboard because they didn't see the point. They felt that at some point it really didn't matter. That the aircraft could go down and the pilots would not have enough time to get to the back of the aircraft and try to jump out.
The plane went down after some sort of incident involving another refueling plane. That second plane was able to land safely. Your money at this moment. Right now, the Dow is up 29 points. We're at 46,707. Coming up, a nearly perfect day on tap. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio. The movie show broadcasting live today from Sound Sleep in Sandy. This is one of 6 locations in Utah that Sound Sleep has: Clearfield, Murray, Sandy, American Fork, Provo, and St. George. And I'm talking with Mandy Nelson from Sound Sleep about the offer that they've got today for KSL listeners. And I've got some cool information to share, but tell us what the offer is, Mandy.
Yeah, so today we're offering a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation to anybody that calls during the show.
Okay, so I was reading, that if we don't sleep well, our brain tries to compensate. This is science that I'm talking about right now. Our brain tries to compensate while we're awake. And so sometimes when you're not getting the right kind of sleep, even if you don't necessarily feel like, oh, I just want to lay down or shut my eyes, suddenly you have these periods of inattentiveness because apparently our brain can't do the things at the same time that it needs to do when it's sleeping and we're awake.
You're exactly right.
So what keeps us, what puts us in that state?
Of not being able to sleep well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, it's usually obstructive sleep apnea. So you're waking throughout the night. And even if you're not physically waking up throughout the night, your body's waking up when you aren't breathing throughout the night. And a lot of people don't know that they do this unless they have a spouse elbowing them or saying, hey, you're snoring, or, you don't breathe at night.
Or your kids are like, what is that noise from the other room?
Exactly. I mean, most people come in and say, I'm fine. Well, we look at the sleep results and they're not.
Yeah, no, that's actually one of the interesting things. When you come and get your free sleep screening and Mandy and her team go over the numbers with you, I promise you will be surprised. Whatever the number is, you're going to be surprised at what
Absolutely.
it is.
People always are. So, and those sleep screenings, the sleep screening that we're offering, it gives us a ton of data. So it's going to tell us your oxygen levels, your heart rate, how many times you stop breathing and for how long throughout the night. So really you have nothing to lose by calling in today and scheduling an appointment with us.
So find this out, regardless of what the results are. You want to know it. And right now you can get a free sleep screening and free sleep consultation set up, but you got to call during the movie show between now and 1 o'clock. What number, Mandy?
801-716-8672. And you can also go to soundsleepmedical.com to book as well.
Meet Lee Platts, a renter whose possessions fill not only her apartment, but also the darkest corners of a mini storage unit. A land of both truth and fiction. Truth, everything inside is protected by Progressive. Fiction. One day, Lee will fit into her clothes from senior year of high school. Renters. Discover coverage for what you love and what you can't get rid of in Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. And here's Cameron Elliott.
We're still seeing that patch of slowing on southbound I-15 in Davis County as you come into Farmington ahead of the Highway 8 or 9 interchange. Otherwise, I-15 is clear from Bountiful to Provo in both directions. In Utah County, we have some patches of slowing eastbound on Corey Ride Highway as you approach the Mountain View corridor, and then a couple more spots of slowing on Pioneer Crossing due to construction. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cyprus Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypruscu.com today. Cameron Elliott in the KSL Traffic Center.
We should reach 70 today with plenty of sunshine, but then it cools off and gets windy over the weekend as a cold front moves through. Starting Tuesday, we see a big warm-up that could see us reaching 80 degrees later in the week. Right now, it's 55 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, except that we have Greg Skordas and Jim Bennett talking today about a lot of things going on, not the least of which is what's happening in the Middle East and how it's affecting oil prices, gas prices. I have an electric car, so I guess I haven't experienced it quite as much. But
what car do you have? I have a Chevy Bolt. I love it.
Oh, do you? I'm embarrassed. I have a Tesla, but I bought it before.
Have you seen those bumper stickers?
I have one.
Oh, you have one.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Maybe I've seen it on your car.
I'll tell you what, though. Say what you want. It's the best car I've ever had. I mean, it's
the
infrastructure for Tesla. I mean, you can drive anywhere in the country, and it's amazing. But anyway, I digress. The Trump administration is thinking about sort of changing the shipping rules and so that we can get lower prices and considering a waiver of what they call the Jones Act that requires shipments of oil between U.S. ports be carried by American-owned ships. We have with us Rachel Frazen, who covers energy and environmental policy for The Hill. Rachel, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you guys for having me.
And what can you tell us about well, first of all, I don't think they're letting any ships in and out of that strait, but what is the Trump administration considering doing to loosen up the problems that we're having with oil imports and exports right now?
So the Trump administration is doing or is looking at a couple of things. One is that in coordination with a bunch of other countries, the United States is releasing some oil from its strategic reserves. They also announced last night that they are lifting some sanctions on Russian oil. And as you mentioned, they are considering a waiver of the Jones Act, which basically requires that all shipping between U.S. ports needs to be done by U.S. flag ships, meaning like American ships are the only ships that can ship that oil. They're considering, lifting that for the time being, to allow other ships in to just sort of try and alleviate some of these costs. I think the impacts of all of these are going to be somewhat limited, but also sort of depend on how long this conflict lasts and how long that Strait of Hormuz is closed. Because if it's closed for a long time, releasing a relatively modest amount of oil may or may not, bring it down if we've got a disruption for a much longer period.
Well, you said one thing in there that just raised my eyebrows a little bit with this idea of lifting restrictions on Russian oil. Does this mean that we are now going to be funding Vladimir Putin and funding the war against Ukraine?
The analysts are saying that this will give the Russian economy and the Russian government some sort of a boost. The administration announced, I believe it was last week or earlier this week, that they were just going to allow India to buy those barrels. Now they're saying more broadly the barrels that are already out on the water, they're lifting those sanctions. And so, that's what analysts are saying, that it'll give them an influx.
Strategically, Rachel, what would be the reason I mean, I understand oil prices, globally, but what would be the reason to loosen up restrictions on Russian oil, except for that, I guess, just to alleviate the prices?
Yeah, I think that's the rationale, is that they're hoping that this will relieve some of the pressure, and it could have a modest impact, but I certainly don't think that it will be enough to alleviate what we're seeing.
In terms of our country, it seems that we have a tremendous amount of oil and oil reserves, and we're also getting some from Venezuela. We don't necessarily, and I may be completely wrong, rely on oil coming out of the Middle East. Maybe I'm wrong, but do we?
So here's the deal, is that oil is sort of traded globally. It's pretty easy to move from place to place, and so oil prices are not really just set by what the U.S. does and how much the U.S. produces and where the U.S. just gets its oil. Oil traders sort of trade on global commodities markets, and so when we look at oil prices, we kind of need to look at the whole global picture. And so, yes, the U.S. gets more of its oil from the U.S., but the prices are set by how expensive oil is around the world. And so while a lot of that Middle Eastern oil, again, goes to the Middle East, it goes to Asia, it goes to places like that, and not as much of it, although some of it does go to the U.S., because the prices are set globally and because that's sort of how oil trading works, oil prices are dependent not just by what's happening in the U.S., but what's going on around the world.
Well, so if the Strait of Hormuz is closed, that means that we can't get oil from Saudi Arabia either, right?
Yeah,
through the strait.
Yeah, about a fifth of the world's oil goes through that strait. There is sort of limited capacity for Saudi Arabia to divert some of its oil through other channels, but not, like a fifth of the world's consumption levels of oil. And so, it's really putting a strain on that oil. Again, U.S. imports of Saudi oil are not as great as they are for some other countries, but nobody can get that oil, U.S. or otherwise, and that's jacking up the price.
This may be an unfair question to you, Rachel, but do you know if anything's being done in terms of freeing up that strait? I mean, we still, notwithstanding the war, or is it just one's tied to the other so much that we're not going to get anything done there until we get something resolved with the conflict in Iran?
It seems to me like it's all sort of tied up. I'm not a defense expert, and it's possible they are working, on things to move the strait specifically. Like the U.S. has also said that the Navy could escort, U.S. ships through the strait, but Iran is placing, or there's been reporting that Iran is placing mines that could explode in that strait. And so I think that, if you're a shipping company or if you're a potential crew member on one of those ships, you might be very wary to go through it, even with a naval escort, if they've placed mines.
Well, there have already been some bombings, too, haven't there? Iran has bombed some of the oil tankers. Am I making that
up?
And
I think that was...
Yeah.
To be honest, that's what I believe. So I believe you're right on that one. But it seems like, again, that might be the sort of thing that the U.S. Navy, they may be trying to alleviate when they say we can escort you. But, I don't know how effective that would be.
Let me ask you one last question, Rachel. How do we access, or how long does it take to get into oil reserves? I mean, I guess I don't understand where they are or how they're set up, but is that something that if let's say the United States decides to release from the oil reserves, they've talked about 172 million barrels, is that fairly easy to do and it can be done quickly, or do you know?
Yeah, so the U.S. has the Strategic Oil Reserve. It has, a few 100 million barrels of oil in it. And they gave a timeline. I think they said it would be about 120 days overall to get that released. And so I think it'll take, a few weeks, about 120 days to deliver that oil. So it'll probably be, some weeks, and it may not all happen at once, but they're working on it.
Thank you very much. That was Rachel Frazen, who covers energy and environmental policy for The Hill, talking about what's happening with oil prices and it's something, when you think about the war in Iran, there's so many far-reaching consequences to what's going on. Oil prices for everything, and even the loss of American lives. And I don't really want to get into the whole the grade school that was bombed there, but this conflict has just taken on a whole bunch of levels. I don't know that anybody really appreciated.
Well, I mean, the grade school, the thing that drove me nuts about that was that Donald Trump was asked about it, and he said, "Oh, Iran did that."
Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense. That's simply not true. And yet we've just kind of moved on from that because there's so much here, and we just expect this administration to just make stuff up.
Yeah,
that we're not aghast when something that horrible happens.
Yeah.
We just move to the next atrocity.
Yeah, seriously. Well, you haven't been here for the movie show, but then when we come back after the break, we're going to check in with the KSL movie show and some scary features. We'll be right back.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
The movie show broadcasting live from Sound Sleep in Sandy today. I'm with Mandy Nelson from Sound Sleep. Mandy, this is a week that people had sleep on their mind a lot because of the daylight savings time change that happened on Sunday. So everybody's already feeling sleepy, and it's because everything is off. Like you may have gone to bed at the time on the clock, but your body's all out of rhythm, and our bodies work so hard on rhythm. And that's what happens when you have obstructive sleep apnea is your body can't get into the rhythm it's trying to get into in the restive state that you need. So how you felt this week, even if you didn't necessarily feel sleepy, but you felt foggy, that's what people who have obstructive sleep apnea feel way more than you think.
All the time. Yeah. So if you think about it, there's 4 stages of sleep. So when you have obstructive sleep apnea and you're waking up throughout the night, you keep starting over that stage every time. So a lot of people aren't getting into the deep and REM sleep that they need, which is the recovery sleep, right? Where our bodies recover from the day before. So it is important to find out if you are suffering from obstructive sleep apnea. And some of the symptoms are snoring. Snoring is a huge one. Morning headaches, fatigue throughout the day, even waking up to use the restroom at night. That's really not normal.
Yeah, I found that out when I corrected my sleep apnea. I was thinking I had prostate issues. I really did.
Right.
And when I got it fixed, and I slept through the whole night for the first time in, I don't know, years. And I was like, oh, everything works like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
It was just something else that was busted.
Yeah. Because literally when we get into that deep sleep, our bodies go into a paralyzed state. And so unless there's something waking it, an apneic event, you're going to stay asleep. So
how long do people see? For my wife, she wasn't as concerned with the snoring as she was that when I didn't make any noise at all because I had stopped breathing.
Yeah, I've seen sleep tests come back that show people that stop breathing for over 3 minutes at a time.
That's just insane. You couldn't even try to do that when you're awake. So how do we fix this, Mandy? You guys have an offer for movie show listeners today.
Yeah, so give us a call today. We're offering a free sleep screening, which is a small little machine that you take home with you, and you do it one night in the comfort of your own bed. You bring it back the next day. We have the data that next day to go over with you. You'll meet with one of our sleep consultants, and they'll go over the data and talk about an alternate that we have to a CPAP machine, because a lot of people don't want to find out. They don't want to wear a mask on their face at night.
All right. So the number to call is 801-716-8672. You got to make that appointment, though, between now and 1 o'clock to get the free sleep screening and the free sleep consultation. 801-716-8672.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ENJOY to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Only one type of burger. For every pallet. Fries are extra. Large in size. We've got the shakes. Going over the brim.
Hey, this is Chris from JCW's. Put a positive, delicious spin on your day at any one of our 5 locations. In Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, or Harriman. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement, and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hard-working partners. So they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
Inside Sources.
Okay, it's Friday, Jim, so that means that we quit an hour early in favor of the KSL Movie Show, and we have the co-hosts of the movie show with us, Andy Farnsworth and Val Cameron. Andy, you need to introduce your new co-host.
Well, all right. Here I hereby introduce Val Cameron. Val, welcome to the movie show.
I am so excited to be here.
Yeah, so what we do with our friends here on Inside Sources is we give a little bit of a preview of the big movie of the week. We don't give it all away because, we're saving that for our show. But we also tell them, what is our text question of the week? Because it's always funny to see what movies Greg and Holly haven't seen.
Ah, okay.
Which for Greg, it's most
Which is
movies.
most movies. But you guys, you've changed my mind. But no. Tell Val, tell us about your experience and where you come from and what you know about movies.
Yeah, I've loved movies since I was 3 years old, and I sat with my grandpa and watched World War II movies, and that's why Saving Private.
You still love them.
Saving
Okay.
Private Ryan is my favorite movie. You always have some kind of memory, and that's what's so great about movies is you can think of where you saw it and who you saw it with, and sometimes you can even smell the room you were in, and that's why I love movies so much. I've been a film critic since 2008. I went to film school, although I do not think that as a prerequisite to love movies. Anybody can have an opinion on film.
You'll just be able to break it down in a different way than I do.
Yeah, but I can shut that off. That right after film school, nobody wanted to talk to me for 3 years about movies. And now I can shut that off and just have a really good time.
Okay, so tell us, what is our big movie of the week? I think it's a scary one.
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
The reason our text question is scary is because today's Friday the 13th. So we were going to try to.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I hate to remind you that you've gone blissfully through the day so far without knowing
Thanks.
that.
Now you
No,
remember.
actually, it's an adaptation of a Colleen Hoover book, which I'm sure you read in all your spare time, Greg. Reminders of Him. And it's the third time they've adapted a Colleen Hoover book. And in this one, it's about a girl who goes back to her hometown after a stint in prison where she was found responsible for the death of her boyfriend in a car crash. Turns out she was pregnant and didn't know it at the time, gives birth to the child in prison, and now she's never actually met her daughter. So she's out and she wants to go, and she's really kind of desperate to meet her. So she goes home, but guess what? The late boyfriend's parents not going to want to have that happen. So it's about her basically trying to meet her daughter and figure out what she's going to do with her life. And I actually said before the screening started, I was like, I should have worn my boots and raincoat because the last Colleen Hoover movie I saw had so much melodrama. I felt like I needed protection from it. And I really thought it was going to be like that in this one. And I was surprised that they dialed it back.
They did dial it back. It's very much like a Hallmark movie meets a Netflix movie. It's a little more hardcore than a regular Hallmark movie, but
That's
it still
true.
has that, small town girl going home, trying to figure out her life, but kind of PG-13.
Yeah, and as you follow the story through, I was surprised at myself that I was like, I actually kind of like this story. Some of it's a little bit predictable, but it got me enough to where I was like, I can forgive this because I like the themes it was about, and I couldn't believe I was saying this, but I was like, I think I like this one kind of a lot.
Well, and the music was great. I think that helped pull us along. I was jamming.
So is Mommy also the killer of Daddy?
Okay, well, so that's
okay. Or is that part of the
thing.
movie twist?
She's found responsible for his death in
Okay.
a car crash, but you don't know what happens. I mean, that's
Right.
part of that's part of what I liked
That's the
about
whole
it is
mystery.
they leave it just sort of as is, so you don't know, and the parents are angry. The friend, his best friend, who now she has this unwanted, I guess at first, mutual attraction with the best friend.
unexpected, I
Look,
would say.
When you describe some of these things, they sound a lot more ridiculous than they felt as I was watching it from start to finish. That's what I'll say.
Are you talking about Jerry Springer? Is that what we're discussing right now?
It
sounds
kind of
a
is
little
Jerry
bit like that.
Springer-ish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
that's what it
does,
sounds
but-
like to me, right? Yeah, and so
But it's more sincere as you watch it, Greg. I think
it's an interesting theme for a movie. I mean, to me, to think about, just in my own practice, when you say, well, she was convicted of the murder, well, okay, I'm a lawyer, so that means she probably did it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, but I know there are
Well,
more.
it was called vehicular manslaughter officially.
Right. Yeah. She was.
But we can't tell you everything.
Okay.
That's
No,
what I'm saying.
I'm
I
not
want to
asking you
explain,
to.
but
Okay.
I can't because people who are going to see it, I want them to experience it too. But I thought the way they laid it out, and when you finally get to find out different pieces of the story, I felt like they worked like a stitch kind of in a
Yes.
quilt. I thought that it stitched together instead of being like, wait, where's this big gap that doesn't make any sense? I didn't feel like it had those.
I didn't either.
Okay.
Are we going to agree on this?
I don't know. This will be really interesting.
Oh, no.
We can't give you our final grades till the movie show.
Right. Yes. Okay. What's your question for us today?
Okay, because it's Friday the 13th, and seems like there's a horror movie every week, and this week is no exception. What is the horror movie trope that scares you the most? Like when you watch a horror movie, what's the one thing that they always do in a horror movie that always seems to freak you out? Even though you've seen it in a bunch of horror movies, that one freaks you out.
Well, first of all, I don't like horror movies very much. but
I'm with you.
Same.
So that's where did you go to film school, by the way? I have the University of Southern California's School of Cinema on my diploma, but I was actually a theater major. And
I went to USC, sir. We can high five.
We're USC buddies.
I went to USC,
That's
but I
amazing.
also came home and I went to a great teacher at Salt Lake Community College. I want to shout her out, Mrs. Davis, who was amazing. I mean, to hold up against USC, you got to be pretty amazing. And so I do have some Utah blood in there and some Southern California blood in there. So yeah.
Yeah, we need to hang out. That sounds fun.
We do. I have a new friend.
There you
Andy.
go.
See, you're going to make all kinds of new friends.
It's all good. But I mean,
So what's your horror movie trope, even though you were a theater major?
well, the horror. I mean, the only horror movies I like. My favorite horror movie, and I'm not sure if it can qualify. It does qualify. Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, that's plenty freaky.
Is a
Trust me.
wonderful, wonderful movie. The thing that scares me in there that is probably part of the horror movie trope is right at the end of the movie. You think you're following Jodie Foster to bust the guy, and it turns out they've gone to the wrong house, and Jodie Foster is somewhere else and is in danger. So it's sort of the old switcheroo.
The old switcheroo.
I don't know if that's the official title of
You
the
mean
trope.
like in Batman or The Dark
You
Knight?
could have said spoilers.
Oh yeah.
Too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Spoilers for a movie that
just
came
kidding.
out in
Spoilers for a movie that
1991.
came out 35 years ago.
Yeah, but Batman, The Dark Knight does the same thing, right? You think he's going to go
Yeah.
save Rachel, and he's going to go save Harvey Dent. So
Yeah. So okay. So the old switcheroo where you think you're going to get the relief of the person in danger being saved, and they're not.
yeah, that's
a
scary.
good one.
I like that. How about Greg? How many horror movies have you seen?
Oh, I've seen enough to know that I don't like them, and they, you know, they're no fun. But you know what bothers me the most about horror movies is and I know this will sound trite, but you know the predictability and the fact that people just do the dumbest things, and you're just like, what are you thinking? But what always gets me in horror movies, I don't know what it's a camera thing that they do that really scares me, which is like you're the bad guy and you're walking behind a person. You know what I mean? And you can see that they're walking up towards somebody. And when you mentioned Silence
And
of
the
the Lambs,
person doesn't know?
Yeah, and they don't know. I mean, that's what gets to me. That's what the whole last scene in Silence
Yeah.
of the Lambs is about. You remind me of that. It was so creepy because you're thinking he can see and she can't. That whole the bad guy's got something coming up on the good person, and
So the whole "you can't see me."
right. Yes.
I thought you were going to say running up the stairs instead of running out the front door. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. Well, that's another one.
See, that would only scare me in the thought of that one of my kids would be dumb enough to do that, and
Oh.
because I know I wouldn't. My brain would go into
Throwing
get out of the
shade.
house, get as far away, because that's mine is the unstoppable force that chases you silently. So even though you know it's coming after you, and you throw like irons and bicycles and everything at it, and it keeps coming. And every time you think you've stopped it, it's somehow there again. That's the one that freaks me out.
If that's what freaks you out, I'm going to share one of my favorites of those today with you. One of my favorite movies that does that.
Oh, then you're telling me what to avoid. Excellent. I like it.
Well, we'll be listening for you. That's it for today for Inside Sources. Thanks for Jim Bennett for co-hosting with me today, and hopefully you can stay with us and join us in the future. We're going to pass things over to the KSL Movie Show with co-host Val Cameron.
Thanks very much.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.